Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Cruncher with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've covered most of this week's Marvel books, and now it's time to move on to this week's DC books, as well as our final Marvel book. Kicking things off, we've got Batman Urban Legends, number 16. So this issue actually features the conclusions to three of the stories that we've been following in Urban Legends for the past few months. Bound to Our Will, featuring Batman and Zatanna. Memory Lane, featuring the Birds of Prey. And Ace the Bat Hound and Hounded. So starting off with Bound to Our Will. Batman and Zatanna were dealing with the mystical entities that had been plaguing them of late with help from Constantine, and while Batman was in a mystical realm, but from different angles, and in fact not the angles one would expect from either one. But the portal that has been opened is closed by the combined efforts of Batman, Zatanna, and Constantine. And afterwards, Batman and Zatanna mend fences, with Batman initially taking the blame for having pushed Zatanna away, and Zatanna insisting that the blame is not just on him. Friendship's a two-way street. And so they renew their friendship with during a league meeting. Batman, Superman, once again starts to ask about what's going on with Bruce and Zatanna, but apparently Batman informs Clark that he invited Zatanna over for family dinner, explaining that the kids are cooking. They've been watching recipes on YouTube and want to show off, which is exactly what they do. Which wraps up Bound to Our Will. Next up, we've got a one-shot story focusing on Alfred. Some things remain. Alfred has discovered a string of strange deaths at a retirement facility, Gotham Gardens. Batman points out that recently Arnold Wesker, the ventriloquist, was committed to Gotham Gardens. And this happened around the time that these mysterious deaths began. Alfred is brought there to be committed, and that night he has some investigating with Batman on comms when ventriloquist shows up. Alfred mentions a specific friend of his that passed away, and ventriloquist Scarface remembers him, and does it appear that Scarface did anything to him? But Alfred continues his investigation and finds a makeshift morgue, and that the dead have apparently been experimented upon by the doctors. As it turns out that the doctor currently running Gotham Gardens is basically behind the whole thing. And further investigation, they realize that all of everyone on their large donor list are the victims. Batman comes in to save Alfred. The doctor running the place is manslaughter, and that night when they return to the cave, Bruce takes care of Alfred for a change, taking care of Alfred's wounds himself. which brings the story to a close. In the finale of Memory Lane, lots of double crossing. Miracle Molly double crosses the birds. Further turning, and Katana and Shiva continue their constant antagonism. But as I mentioned, Miracle Molly does betray the group. And we learned that the Memory Lane app was created by not Richard Rowe, but rather his lady friend, Madeline. She was an entry-level meta engineer with an idea, brought it up to the board, and was mocked for it. But Richard turns out to have actually been the janitor at the startup, and Madeline decided to basically make him the face of the whole thing. Molly and Noah managed to engineer Rose's downfall. We discovered that Shiva, while being one of the best killers in the DC universe, is also capable of healing. Explaining that when you're taught only how to hurt, the only way to be free is to learn how to heal. But after Richard Rowe's death, the Memory Lane app proved to be true, and Madeline Dusk came up with a cure for the metavirus that had ravaged Gotham City because of the Memory Lane app. Which brings us to our final story, the conclusion of Hounded. Where we left off, Batman was being held prisoner, having to fight a bear who was having to fight a bear to prove he was actually Batman. But Batman manages to take the bear down, and however, when Batman saves the bear when it's about to be put down, and all hell breaks loose as his host tells Batman a Tolstoy story of a man and his son with a dancing bear, and how one night the bear got free. It was almost to the woods when the boy started playing his drum. But Joker wins the auction. He wants to take Batman with him now, but well, then Ace shows up. With his animal allies. The warehouse explodes. Ace drags Batman to safety. The turtle is given to the Flash, and the bear is released into the Wayne Wildlife Preserve, as is the squirrel. And that is where the issue ends. I did notice it being kind of interesting that all of the stories in Urban Legends wrapped up. There were no to be continueds, nothing new starting up. But this is not Urban Legends' final issue. So, that's just the timing of it. Moving on to our next book, we've got Batgirls number 7. Where we left off after defeating Tutor and Spellbinder, um, the Batgirls got a surprise visit from Seer, who wanted their help. And apparently, the Saints are going after her, and they find her. The Batgirls intervene and basically say, "Hey, you guys can leave Gotham. Just leave, And they said that they'll do it. They just want to take Seer with them. And so the Batgirls said, "Okay," which is all part of their plan. They're tracking Seer, and they track Seer to the Iceberg Lounge. Where she's being taken in the elevators below the lounge, which is where she's lived for years. We also get Seer's origin. She was the daughter of a member of Penguin's criminal organization. Often spent her evenings at the Iceberg Lounge, just hiding away, where she made her little, basically, her where she is initiated, had her little office. Doesn't sound right, but nor does lab. But basically, the Saints want her to put out the misinformation that Simon Saint is still alive, Simon Saint never died, and that the Saints are his lieutenants. But Oracle has a plan to get into the Iceberg Lounge. It involves dress up. Her dressing up, though. Cass and Steph will basically be taking the place of Oracle for this mission. As it turns out, there's a big to-do going on at the Iceberg Lounge concerning Lulu, who used to be a member of Haley's Circus. And so, Barbara gets dressed up and goes to the function with none other than former Haley's Circus trapezist Dick Grayson. It should also be noted that one of the Saints is very keen on getting his robot dog back, even though it's been thoroughly hacked and turned by Oracle to be in the service of the Batgirls. And the issue ends with Dick and Babs entering the Iceberg Lounge. It's been far too long since I've been on a date, and Dick intends to enjoy every minute of it. I keep saying it, I love this book. I really do. It's seriously a lot of fun. Moving on to our next book, we've got I Am Batman, number 10. Where we left off, Man Ray appeared to have Batman and Detective Chubb had managed to figure out Man Ray's next target, the mayor, which leads both to wonder just how it is that, in what way the mayor's corrupt. Meanwhile, some of the officers on the NYPD are planning to go after Man Ray themselves in retaliation for his murder of the police commissioner. So we begin. Batman and Chubb point blank ask the mayor about his possible corruption, mainly to say we're not, and also they're not accusing him of being corrupt. It's just that's kind of been the MO of Man Ray, and well, Man Ray's made it clear that the mayor is a target of his. Chubb and Batman go on to discuss their plan. Hadia tells Batman of a legend he brought up, a hot list. From the best you can tell, the hot list is a minor urban legend. Lists the most powerful people in business and politics and all their dirty deeds. As she explains, the legend goes that if someone had the list, they could blackmail all the people on it to do as told. Kind of whoever controls the list controls the world. Man Ray attacks the mayor at City Hall and slaughters his security. But Batman, Chubb, and the rest of the task force show up. Batman's able to save the mayor, and he takes off to take on Man Ray on his own. And kind of with Man Ray doing various making it so that making it harder for anyone to intervene, blowing up vehicles, but he's eventually defeated by Batman, but one of the officers tries to get his revenge when Chubb puts one through the officer's shoulder. Pleasing Man Ray to no end. And that is where the issue ends. This is definitely a book I'm enjoying. I do have to wonder if it's going to acknowledge the events of the Dark Crisis. I kind of feel like there aren't going to be many books that do. After all, we all know Dark Crisis is going to end with the League returning, so yeah. But moving on to our next book, we've got Future State Gotham, number 14. Where we left off, Dick Grayson was running around as Batman wearing a brain rig, giving him a degree of precognition. The next Batman, Jace Fox, was running around with Gotham, somewhat working with Peacekeeper Red, Jason Todd. Bruce had learned that Damian had, while trying to find Bruce, had ended up journeying into hell. And in fact, Damian had returned to Gotham as an adult, having taken on the Batman 666 look. But we begin with Hush trying to injecting the Thinker with brain. Batman 666 deals with some of the police using Hellfire batarangs and injuring more than a few. Various TV personalities are shown talking about the various Batmans. Jace and Jason discuss the whole situation as well. Oracle goes after villain known as Plug, and is found by Batman, Nightwing. Before they part ways, Jace shows up. Dick and Jace have a bit of a fight. Oracle says she's going to go after Dick. Hush, meanwhile, opts to masquerade as Batman using one of the more classic Batman look, seeing as how Once again, his face looks like Bruce Wayne's, so. But Bruce plans to go to find Damian. Damian, meanwhile, is causing trouble when Hush seems to find him. And but Hush explains that they've got a lot of catching up to do, and after that, the two of them will burn down Gotham together. And that is where the story ends. The backup story is a reprint from a recent-ish issue of Batman Urban Legends that focused on Batman 666, which shouldn't be much of a surprise. So. It still irritates me that the backup stories are all just reprinted black and white stories. It's a bit annoying. But otherwise, good issue. Good issue. It was the first time that people say Gotham made the thumbnail, so. Moving on to our last book for the week, we've got Iron Fist number 4. Where we left off, Lin Lei, the new Iron Fist, along with his allies Yang Yi and Mei Min, ran afoul of the Immortal Weapons, Bride of Nine Spiders, and Fat Cobra. Much of the issue is a fight between the two, or between Iron Fist and the other two Immortal Weapons. And while the new Iron Fist is good, he's not good enough to take down either of them alone. Meanwhile, Lin Lei's brother is working on freeing Chio, the Dark Destroyer. An explosion occurs at the second tomb, and Danny Rand catches it while notes it while him and Luke Cage are heading further into China looking for the new Iron Fist. But Lin Lei goes after the explosion. Luke and Danny follow. And what Lin Lei finds when he gets there is his brother is still alive and now in the service of Chio the Destroyer. He's also having trouble with summoning the chi of Shu Lao. But Lin Lei's brother wants the shards of the family sword back, presumably to help with the resurrection of Chio. And that is where the issue ends. And that is going to do it for this week's roundup. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.